Hello and welcome back to another episode of Transport Fever 2. Here we are driving through our new bus station in the city of Birmingham that we put in last episode. And in this episode, I think we're going to try to get some more resources out to the city from the cargo hub and figuring out how we're going to do that. So here we are down at our cargo hub, and the main issue that we have is figuring out how we're going to get resources from here all the way up into this corner of the map of Birmingham. Now, at a quick glance, boats are pretty much just out of the question, as it wouldn't really benefit us to transport it by boat such a short distance, since we would have to transfer it to a truck here or maybe farther down here where there's already a connection, and getting it up here by train is probably going to be very tricky, considering our passenger line that goes up there already has a head start in terms of height by this bridge. So if we were to leave straight from the cargo hub, we'd have to gain this amount of height and then continue climbing like this set of tracks does. And I think it might just be very hard to get a cargo train up and into the city of Birmingham. Also considering there's not too much space, we could expand this station to accept cargo, but I think we maybe want to keep our presence lower in the city since there's not too much space for it to expand. So I think the only option that leaves us with is pretty much by truck, and we'll probably be doing it similar to how Santa Clarita has it, where we can truck all the resources to sort of a distribution area within or just outside of the city, and then from there we can have smaller, quicker trucks transport those goods into the city wherever it's needed. So by doing it this way, we can just have a single truck line coming into our truck station here, and we wouldn't need to have 6 separate lines for each of the resources. We can just use a generic box truck, and maybe if we wanted to get a little more immersive, we can have a tanker truck that comes here and grabs fuel separately, but we can then have that line come up to the city of Birmingham, where maybe over here this area could be sort of a drop-off and then distribution area where those resources would then get sent by smaller trucks throughout this city. So we already have a road connection up to Birmingham. However, from the cargo hub, it's a little inefficient as the trucks will have to come back and away from the city, turn onto these 2 roads, and then it's finally off on its journey. And I don't mind that too much. I'm just wondering if maybe there's a better way we could do it. There's maybe a chance we could bring a road straight off of here that then curves around and connects up to this road somewhere over here. So maybe we'll give that a shot. I think really what we want to do is just make sure it looks good in this area, so whatever we do, we should try to make it fit in with the style of this area and not just have a road cut through and go around just because we want it to. So after weighing our options for a bit, I think we will have a road come out this way, since most of our private transportation comes up and takes this road. Although, adding a connection here might cause private transportation to drive through the cargo hub instead of just this main road, which might not be bad for now, but something we will need to keep an eye on in the future. So, we're just gonna come and grab some streets. Actually, I think we'll start with the city streets that we have here, and I don't think it'll snap to be perfectly straight, but we can probably just line it up as close as we can, make sure it's coming out straight and level, and then now that we've come out just a little bit, we can switch over to our country road and start working our way up and over these train tracks. So we can have this road pretty much come straight up the hill, but that's a very steep slope to deal with, so we could either choose to turn it into a tunnel, which that's not a terrible option, and it also avoids conflict with our tracks over here. Let's see how low we can get. It looks like if we go down one more, we get an issue, but this slope, although it is a little bit steep, it's not as bad as it could be, really, so I think we'll keep this. We will have the tunnel. We'll just have to make it look nice when we come back through here. But then now, once we're out of here, we can just drag this road along and find a good spot to connect. Alright, so here's where we ended up connecting to. It was just next to the old dirt road that was here, and I think this fits quite nicely. The tunnel doesn't really distract too much from this area. The only thing I might want to do is get the tunnel going underground while it's still going straight. So maybe we'll flatten this and raise this up a little bit. We will lower this down to be flat. So then once we get the tunnel, we can then just go straight over and connect to this road. Alright, so now this entrance looks a little bit better now, and we have our street connection. Let's just see real quick if we come into our destinations. It does look like some people are using that, and interestingly enough, it seems like it's actually people coming from Santa Clarita hopping onto this road, which is a little odd. Maybe it's just a few of these houses that have sort of taken over the larger highway connection. But as long as that number isn't too large, we can see it's just one for now, I think we'll be okay. So next we have to come up to Birmingham and figure out what our distribution area is going to look like up here. And I think this spot right here between these two streets provides a pretty nice area to do that. So let's come in, we'll clear it all out so we can see what we're doing, and then we'll flatten it. Hopefully this whole area is flat, or at least relatively flat between all the roads. Alright, so now here's sort of our base for this distribution area. It's pretty much just a maxed out truck station, 6 platforms, 30 meters in length, and some storage buildings over here. We will cover these up and then sort of add some details to the lot, but once we have that, we can set up the line and then figure out where these resources are going to go. Alright, so here's sort of like a midway point of our detailing. We have our warehouse storage building over here. We have everything fenced in, as you can see. We left this area as grass since it sort of raises up to meet the road. So maybe we can add bushes, or we could just leave it as grass. And then over here is just the parking lot area. So next I think we'll put some resources over in this lot, and then really that'll be pretty much all that we do. Alright, and I think this is what this area is going to be left off as. We filled this whole area in with storage containers, trailers, and some resources. And I think this is just enough space to have it look good and also sort of let it breathe in some areas. So I'm pretty happy with this. We can now, I guess we need to come through here, sort of smooth and fix out everything that we've done, and then we can get this line set up. Alright, so now what we can do, I suppose we can let the game go back to playing, but we can come in, find our trucks, and these box trucks pretty much carry everything. So let's get, I'd say, maybe 18 of these trucks, and those will go from our truck station here all the way up to the city of Birmingham. And I think what I decided to do is in these box trucks we'll carry 4 resources: goods, food, tools, and construction materials. Well, I guess in machines, and then we'll have another line strictly for fuel. So we'll come in here at the cargo hub, we'll have it only pick up construction materials, machines, tools, food, and goods. And then up in Birmingham, it'll unload everything. So we'll have all those trucks starting to come out now. And then we can come back here, find our tanker truck. And this will get a little bit less of, we'll probably get maybe 10. And we'll get that running on a separate line. We'll actually switch this to platform 3. And so that'll go from there up to here as well. However, for this one, it will only be carrying fuel up to Birmingham. So now let's get our terminals switched properly over here. We'll have these come into terminal 5 and 6 respectively. And then down here, we'll have our box truck line carrying through the second platform, and then the fuel carrying through the third one. And now what this can do is, whenever we transport by truck to another city, we could have all of the fuel lines come to one platform, since this platform will only be carrying fuel. And I think it'll just help make things more organized. So we can still see our endless amounts of trucks still coming out of the truck depot, but as we wait for those to leave and space out, we can come up to our city of Birmingham and start to think about where we want to distribute these resources through the city. So taking a look here, it seems like we're not going to be able to get all the machines in one stop. So I think maybe we'll make this as dense as possible and put it here. So that'll cover all the machines and construction materials, and I suppose even the one building of fuel here. And then over this way, we can have a stop here, which then delivers food, tools, and the very little amount of goods that are starting to pop up. And then to get those resources distributed through the city, I think we'll use a mix of these trucks. So we'll get the tank truck for the fuel, or actually we'll get 4 trucks going from here to this stop, and it'll pretty much just carry whatever is needed. And then we'll get another 4 trucks to distribute resources from the distribution area to this truck stop. So it'll be a little bit odd. I've never done it like this, where we just allow the trucks to carry whatever into the city. So hopefully it'll do it evenly and in a way that doesn't overload our platforms. Of course, if we need to, we will check up on this later on, and if we do need to separate some of the resources, that'll be just fine. So now, just to help prevent from overloading these stations, we will still limit what these trucks can pick up here. So for this one, it'll be machines, construction materials, and fuel. And let's just double check that. So yeah, this one is just machines, construction materials, and fuel. And the other one will be goods, tools, and food. So some of our trucks are finally making their way up here. It's going to be a while before they start bringing resources, but we can see that they are up here. We'll check and make sure that we don't need to upgrade or add more trucks. I have a feeling we might want to add more, but we'll just keep an eye on how many resources we're actually getting through and out of here. So coming back over to our machines factory, it's actually in the middle of upgrading, and we can see it has just recognized Birmingham as a consumer. It's actually the second largest consumer of machines, so that's good, and we should finally be able to keep up with all the resources we've been pumping through here. We will still want to keep an eye on planks, as that's currently not full as steel is, but we want to make sure that we're not overdoing it with planks and decreasing our steel that the machines factory is storing. Now we can do that by looking at these numbers here and doing some math. However, since we are sharing some of these, I believe this sawmill we're sharing with another line, the numbers might fluctuate a tiny bit depending on demand and how things grow. But just taking a quick look here at the supplier numbers, I think we are bringing in just a little bit more planks than we are steel. So again, we'll just have to keep an eye on it, but seeing this machines factory upgrade and getting close to max capacity is very exciting, and hopefully we'll start to see these lines start coming to life again. So now as we let this run, that should be every resource connected to Birmingham now. And just taking a quick look around the map, we have Santa Clarita connected, we have these two cities connected, I believe we have Modesto connected, Birmingham. Montgomery is connected actually through this distribution area. So I think we have most of the cities on this side of the map. We now just have some other harder to reach areas such as Stockton and Sacramento and some of the more farther cities where we're going to have to get a little creative in how we get resources out to those areas. So I think the next thing we're going to set up is resources into the city of Stockton. Now, I do like the idea of keeping this city small, so we will provide it with all the resources, but maybe we'll just hope that it doesn't start becoming a massive sprawling city, because I do like the idea of it sort of being a small city, as we don't have any train connections here. However, we do have boat and some buses, although those don't really go anywhere. And after looking at this area for a little bit, I think right about here where this food processing plant is would be a great area for a port where all of the resources could come in and then get trucked into the city of Stockton, sort of reinforcing it being sort of a small port city that maybe relied on fishing and just sort of kept small as almost a village. So let's come in here and we're going to delete this industry so we have space. We will make sure that we erase and clear all of the trees and stuff in the area, and then we can flatten it all out. So we'll want to make sure this all remains pretty flat, like so. And now for this dock, we're actually going to go with a blank cargo harbor, as we'll come in and place some buildings of our own once we get this set up. But we'll do, I guess, something like this. We can place it, and then we can come in, grab our docks. We will get rid of this one and replace it with a regular dock, since this one has sort of the extra details on it. And then now we'll just want to, I suppose we could just get 2 docks like so, find our landings, and add one on each area here. And that should work out just fine for this. So now we'll get the area prepped, and we'll be back when we're ready to start adding assets and connections and all of that. Alright, so here we are with pretty much everything laid out. We have some of the ground painted to pretty much fence off the area that we'll be working in. We have our truck station and our port. So we'll get some details down, fence it all off, and then we can get some boats coming in. Alright, so this is going to be the building that we have here at the port. I think it fills out the area pretty well. It's going to be maybe a little tricky to fence it in, but I think once we do that, it will look pretty nice. So let's get into that, and then we can transition over to the truck station side. Alright, so here's what this side's going to look like. We got some trucks sort of parked here with a few trailers. Not too sure if that's enough space to get one in there, but I think it's fine. I think it looks good. And then as for this side, we'll come in here, find some of these trailers, and these we can have them, or at least a few of them, backed right into the loading docks here. Alright, so now that this side is fenced in properly, we can now fence in this area, add a bunch of storage containers, maybe a crane or two, and then get our lines working. Alright, so now we're fenced in, let's clean up our edges here. So we'll find our just regular grass green texture. We'll bring the brush size down, and we can just get rid of that asphalt edge a little bit. Alright, so I think this is what we're going to leave this area off as. You can see we filled in with quite a few different containers, some fuel, some of the base game resources, and then over here we just have a little bit more just for random storage. I think maybe if we want to, we can get rid of this and add a bunch of trucks. I'm not too sure. Maybe we'll come back through and re-detail this area eventually, but now let's get these lines set up. So as we can see here in Stockton, right now it's only accepting 5 resources, so everything except for construction materials, which is fine. We'll just have to add that back in later. But let's come over to our shipyards and take a look at some of the boats we have. So what's good about some of these newer boats, especially this one, we have 4 compartments, which means it can carry 4 different resources in one trip. So we might actually get 4 of these, and we'll set it up on a new line. I think this isn't getting used at all. We'll have those come over to Stockton into here, and because it has 4 compartments, I think for one of them we'll do food and goods, so that'll be that load. We'll have to come in, do the same thing, grab 4 of these, and then set it up on another line, where then this one will bring in machines and tools. So then we'll come over to Stockton again, add this line to the port, and then lastly we need to get a boat to transfer fuel over there, since if we take a look here, this one cannot. I think we could just get, I guess, 2 of those ships to go from the port yet again to Stockton, but this time this one will only be bringing fuel. So one thing we forgot to do is just switch these down to 50% on all these resources, so it carries half on each line. So we'll come back and manage this line, bring these down to 50%, and then now I think we're ready to connect some trucks up into the city here. So if we take a look at our truck stops, it looks like we could have one maybe right about here for tools, food, and goods. The tools are very scattered about, but I think that one stop still covers most of it. Then we can have another one. This one's going to be machines only, so that'll go right there. And then this one can be for, I guess, fuel. We can also carry goods into that stop as well. So we'll find our nearest truck depot. And for Stockton, I think we will use these bigger trucks to go through the city. I don't think it'll be too disruptive. So we'll just grab maybe 4 of those. We can have those go on a new line from here to our first stop. Then we'll do pretty much the same thing for the other 2 truck stops. They'll just essentially go from a platform from our port over to a truck stop. I don't think we're going to set anything. We'll sort of let it do however it pleases and let the game sort of decide what platform it goes on. And then we will have to keep an eye here and make sure these terminals don't get overloaded, but all of them can hold 120 resources each. So hopefully that won't be an issue with the boats coming in. Hopefully we can keep that clean and empty. Alright, so we did end up going through and fixing it just so that we don't get all 6 different resources on one platform, and that'll really slow things down. So this one, I believe we have just taking machines. This one is, I believe it was fuel, tools, and food. And then this one over here does tools, goods, and food. So now the last thing I think we need to do is come through and upgrade the streets of Stockton, as some of these are still very old brick streets. So this will help allow our trucks and buses to get through the city a little faster. And once we're done with that, we'll check in on our other lines, and hopefully everything will be working just fine. Alright, and then the last thing we want to do actually is come over here and make sure none of our ship lines are overlapping just yet. So that looks like we're good. We are full on everything though, so any more ships and we'll have to start sharing docks, which isn't really an issue at this point. But I believe this is our fleet of ships going out. Hopefully they'll space out. I suppose we could always just grab a few of these and flip them around just to give a little bit of space. But anyway, now it is going to take a while for those boats. We might not see the results over in Stockton, but we can come over and take a look probably at Birmingham. And it looks like we do have resources at this truck station. We have machines, fuel, and construction materials. So hopefully those trucks are coming through and grabbing it. I think we might actually duplicate and get just a few more on that one, since that one seems to be a little more popular. And then coming over to our cargo hub truck station, it looks like we do have some resources starting to come in here. I think we just had the last truck leave right here. So they are going to take a while to space out. I mean, we could do the same thing we did with the boats and just sort of have a few of them just flip around, since most of these are traveling empty anyway. So we'll just have those flip around. It'll help just keep a little bit of variety until traffic gets bad enough to sort of mix them around with everything else. But as we can see here, this platform's starting to slowly fill up with resources. And I think we might actually just get a few extra trucks here. I'll say 4. And we'll continue to keep an eye on it and continue going from there. Alright, and now we don't have any resources coming into Stockton yet, but we do have our boats coming in. So that's good to see. We'll spread out these so that each one gets their own sort of landing. And hopefully over here at the cargo hub, we should see some resources starting to pile up here. So we do have machines, and I'm sure as more shipments come in, we'll see more things coming and going from there. And now, the final thing we can come check back up on is this machines factory that we've been wanting to max out for a while, is finally creeping towards being completely full. as we now have the city of Birmingham and Stockton connected, demanding quite a good bit from it. And we might finally start getting use out of these machine trains that we've put on here and have been waiting quite a while for them to start to work out. Now, I don't think we have to worry about overloading the train just yet, but we will have to keep an eye on it and make sure we're still delivering enough machines to the cargo hub and making sure that we're able to provide enough resources here. It looks like our steel numbers are actually going down, but we will still just want to keep a close eye on it and make sure things are evened out for the long run. So now with that, that's going to be all we're going to do in this video. So if you enjoyed this episode, please like and subscribe. If you have any suggestions or feedback, leave a comment below. Thanks for watching, and have a great day.